So, do friends actually keep you poor? Well, I gotta be honest with you guys, okay? The more wealthy I became, the less friends I actually had. I never call someone and say, hey, you're broke, we can't be friends. Or I never got a call and say, Tommy, you're acting different, we're not friends anymore. I never got any of those calls, but what usually happened is, as time just progressed, people I spoke to every single day, we kind of just like stopped talking, kind of just like faded away. And all of a sudden, people I spoke to all the time, we just sent each other like happy birthday texts and that infamous text of, how have you been? But for the most part, we just kind of stopped being friends overall. So in this video, I kind of tell you and kind of break down a few things you want to look out for when it comes to your friends. Now, am I telling you that if your friends have one or two of these characteristics or ideas, you should basically stop being their friends? The answer is no, but it is something that you should be worried about, and it's a conversation that you should have. So yes, in the end, bad company will ruin you, okay? Broke people, being your friends, you hang around with them a lot, you will eventually get their habits. These things are very true. But overall, look out for these main ones right here. Number one, do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals, okay? Morals are the way you interpret right and wrong, the way you actually treat people based on those, okay? And when you hang around with people with bad morals, with bad ideas and bad mindsets, you might think that, well, they're like that, I'm not like that. In reality, those things will corrupt you. Those things will affect you. Your entire like ethics and morality is going to start to get blurry. I had a friend once, and he had this whole weird way of looking at life. He basically said that if what I do, I want to do it, and it doesn't affect someone, then I should be able to do whatever I want to do. And he used to have this mindset of, I don't know now these days, okay, where he couldn't hold a job, had no interest in getting a job, and had no interest in even pursuing his interests, okay? It was kind of insane. It was just like this woke mindset, which was like insane. But his actions did affect people, whether he wanted to see it or did not. And it was affecting his father, his little brother, and just like his family overall. And he did not want to perceive it. And what eventually happened was, when I realized that his way of thinking was kind of influencing me in some ways, I was like, I can't keep doing this. And what I did was not, hey, we can't be friends, but it was like, hey, are you looking at what you're doing? You should try to get a job. You should try to do something. You should stop doing certain things that are going to be affecting your father and this and that. And eventually what happened is we stopped talking, because the more I pushed, the more I started to be less of what he is. Eventually, the less we actually wanted to hang around with each other. And last I knew about him, he was hanging around with people who were just like him. And that's what usually happens. Now, number two, guys, is vanity of vanities, okay? And vanity is whenever someone has an inflated pride about themselves and how people perceive them and the things they actually buy and so on. And I noticed that's something, guys, that poor people are more interested in buying things so they don't look poor than they are in actually trying to become wealthy and actually get rich. Now, I had a friend before, and we had the same interest. We would spend a lot of our monies in vanity, and we basically were always thinking about what would people think about this and that. And eventually, when I realized that the people I'm trying to impress, they don't really care about me, the things that I'm buying are taking opportunities from me, because the more money I spend on this, the more I have to work to kind of keep buying stuff. And these things I'm buying, they're going down in value. Like the things that I thought were valuable lost interest when I realized that they were just vanities of vanities. And eventually, when I kind of started to talk to him about this stuff, we kind of just stopped talking about anything, about everything, because that was the main interest of that relationship. It was all about, what did you buy? I bought this. What did you buy? I bought that. And it was always just about the way you look, the way people look at you and so on. And it was never really about like growth, like real growth overall. Now, number three, guys, is never ending ambition. One of my heroes for a long time was a great friend of mine. And I used to admire this person a lot because of his grand ambition. He would never be satisfied. And to me, that was like an amazing trait, you know, never be satisfied, always hungry, always pushing. And what I'm saying is, guys, broke people or poor people are not just going to be, for example, the people that are poor in money, but the people that are poor in spirit and also just like life overall. Some people, I heard this quote a long time ago, and it was like, some people are so poor that the only thing they have is money. And that was very true about my friend. In the time, I started to notice that he worked and he worked and he worked and he basically made a lot of money and he bought certain things that were very expensive. And I realized that none of the things he bought, none of the accomplishments he actually got actually made him happy. And I was like, what's the point of all this working, of all this toil, if you're not actually going to try to be happy and be at peace? Like, and what I noticed is that his mindset was, I'll be at peace once I accomplish this. And once he accomplished what he accomplished, it was always, well, I'll be at peace once I accomplish this other thing. It's a never-ending cycle. So you want to be very careful with that mindset, because it will lead you to never be content. And that's stupid, you know? You want to be very careful with that, because being discontent and being unhappy and waiting for something to be happy or to try to have a better attitude about your life is not good, because you don't know when you're going to get it. And when you do get it, then you're constantly chasing after something else. It's not a good mindset to actually have. Now, number 4, guys, it's going to be keeping up with the world. I had another friend, and this friend had a mindset of, he accomplished a lot. And by the way, this friend never failed. He's still doing great, okay? But what I noticed is that by trying to keep up with the world, he would always go above his means. And going above his means, although he could maintain it, well, it always meant he had to take on more work to sustain it. And when things got, for example, more expensive, he would want to participate and buy this and buy that. And I noticed that the more he actually got, the more he actually made, the less time he actually had. And I noticed that the life he was basically building was a life where he had to keep working and working and working forever. Now, what I noticed is that this friend of mine is very intelligent, too intelligent for his own good. He has kids and all this stuff, but his mindset is, what are people thinking about me, you know? And he's always striving for more, but at the cost of, there's no end in mind, you know? These two are very similar, right? The one who's like never fulfilled, always has ambition. But this one is just doing it for the sense of like, I want to have people look at me this way and do things this way and trying to keep up with the world and his image in a way. So they're very similar, but they're also very different, you know? Very different in a way. Now, number 5, guys, is going to be fools. And fools are people that basically have very bad behavior, you know? Stupidity is a part of them. Now, I don't mean to say, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to sound mean or irrational. And if you look up the meaning of fool, you'll understand what I mean by this. But I had a friend who was and is still at this moment a fool. And it's not like I stopped being his friend or stopped talking to him, but we talk a lot less. We used to talk literally every single week, and now we can go months without talking. And it was because basically I noticed that this friend of mine, he refused to take advice, to even listen to advice. He wanted to keep making his own mistakes. He had no interest in learning, and he had no interest in improving. And the things he bought and things he did were things that were holding him down, but he had no interest in anyone trying to help him give him advice. It kind of sounds insane, but there are people like that. There are people that just like being what they're doing, you know, like not like being what they're doing. That doesn't make sense, but people that just like being who they are and have no motivation to. It's not about improving your life or trying to achieve more. That's not the point. But the point is, like, there are people that just refuse to take advice and try to like avoid certain things, you know, and those people are very dangerous. Because in some ways, this friend of mine is not just a fool, but he's also very simple-minded. And that can be very dangerous because the way he perceives the world is based on material things, you know? And that can be dangerous because if someone that has an obsession with material things, and not really with real relationships. So his relationships in some ways can be based on materials and the things he can actually get out of people. So that's actually super dangerous. Now guys, these are just a few qualities that I noticed in friendships and relationships that I had prior to that made me think about those friendships. Now, I never had to call someone and say, we're not friends anymore. And any of the people I mentioned in this video, which I did not mention by name because it would be disrespectful and not nice, if they do call me, and I will talk to them, I will give advice. But you have to be very careful whenever a friendship means that you have to participate in stupid things that you don't agree with, things that violate your morals, and overall that you have to basically submit to not talking about the truth in a way. You know, like I used to hang around certain people and conversations were like, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy that, I'm gonna get in debt, I'm gonna do that. I'm like, that's not a good idea, you know? And everyone's like, what do you mean it's not a good idea, you know? So you have to be very careful with your friends group, because in the end, there's a saying that says, you know, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most. And these days, the people I hang around with the most are not really friends, they're more like family. And the things I basically pay attention to the most and I basically spend time with are usually going to be like books, you know, like the Bible and reading and so on, and just trying to like grow in knowledge in a sense, you know. So there is that perspective. It's not like the only way to get wealthy is hanging out with wealthy people, because again, some people, they're so poor, the only thing they have is money. And I know people that are not financially rich, but they are rich in so many other ways. And people that don't have a lot of money, but guess what? Their attitudes are great. You know, they are interested in managing their money. They understand responsibilities. They want to take care of their families and their marriages. And that is awesome. So it's not about like, you have to be worth this much to be a good quality friend or whatever. It's not the point. It's about seeing qualities in a person that's actually a responsible person and not a toxic person in a way. So there is that. So it's a lot more than just a dollar amount. Guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more, here's another one. Do me a favor and also subscribe if you got value from this video. Peace.